Among the hills of Western England is a town called Malvern. In the town of Malvern is a road called Pickersley. Pickersley Road is a factory that I consider one of the most important locations in the automotive world. This is the home of Morgan Motor Cars. When you think about a car factory, you think about enormous buildings, Detroit, machines, people standing by watching the machines, and a line of cars, or what's called an assembly line. Morgan is a little different. This is the car company as a kid I dreamt I might have someday. I didn't dream of owning a factory with a bunch of robots in it. I dreamt of designing cars by hand, working among friends, and having people come and hang out with us as we build the cars before handing them the keys. That's what it's like to work here, that's what it's like to come here, and it's what it's like to buy one.
I mean, this is the kind of place which can no longer exist in the United States. A car company building, well, almost everything themselves. Morgan Motor Cars really is the last real car company. Independent, family owned, the oldest such company in the world, I think. Certainly the oldest such company in England. Building cars out of wood and aluminum.
Morgan Motor Cars was founded in 1909 by HFS Morgan, which, based on my experience driving Morgans, means holy fucking shit, Morgan. The first Morgan was a three-wheeler built in 1909 that HFS and his wife took on hill climbs. Think about what sports cars and racing is all about, power to weight ratio. You talk high power, low weight, we think, Colin Chapman Lotus. No. HFS Morgan invented the whole idea of building the lightest possible car with the highest possible power. This is how the Morgan legend was born. It's not really about the styling, although that's part of it. It's about something built into every single Morgan. Maximum power, minimum weight. I'd been here years ago, briefly, in 2004, and in my mind, there were a bunch of barns and guys chopping wood. Coming back, knowing that much more about cars, I found a very busy place. There were cars everywhere, brand new Morgans being assembled, not by assembly line, by hand. A lot of guys who've been here their whole lives and a lot of young, fresh faces. The barns of my memory probably never really existed, but Morgan is a collection of single-story brick buildings and blue barn doors within which people are cutting wood by hand. Each Morgan is defined by its wood frame. And in the wood shop, we watched a tour being guided through and shown how the wood pieces are glued together, vacuum sealed, and like a fine scotch, aged in order to complete the bonding process. In the Aramac section, like in the wood shop, literally skilled artisans, and I'm not talking about guys who went to school and got a degree in metallurgy. I'm talking about people who were taught here to do this precise thing and only this perfectly, cut the individual pieces, measured them, and made corrections by hand.
Ironically, Morgan today, Charles Morgan, third in the generation of the Morgan family, has seemed to have solved all of the things Italian car manufacturers couldn't solve in the 50s, in the 60s, probably through the 90s. Everything here is handmade and reliable. Everything is made from parts cut, welded, chopped on site, and work. And that's part of what makes Morgan so unique. No other manufacturer operating on this level of technology makes cars that actually work and last.
Although it appears anachronistic, when you get deeper into the plant, you get to the paint shop and the inspection facility. And then you see that Morgan is very much a cutting-edge modern car company. Morgans are known for their reliability. They can be fixed almost anywhere in the world by almost anyone, which makes them very unique, because not only do they look unbelievably great, they are unbelievably reliable. I literally walked into the office of Charles Morgan, the president of the company, who wasn't there. I asked for Matt Humphries, currently lead designer of Morgan, who I met within 5 minutes. A guy who just a few years ago sent in a design for what would become the Morgan Aeromax, whom Charles Morgan immediately hired. It's wonderful to meet you, Mathew Humphries.
Great to meet you. Yeah.
And you are the lead designer at Morgan Motor Cars, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's only a small team here, but basically it's myself, another guy called John Wells, who's my senior designer.
Well, I mean, the big question is, we get a lot of people asking us how to break into the automotive world. And I remember coming here briefly and being brought to what appeared to be a shed, and Charles Morgan showing me, I believe, a wood carving of a car. And he said, "Don't tell anyone that you've seen this." And you were walking by, and he mentioned your name, and I did at the time. I didn't know who you were. How did you come to become the lead designer? What was that car?
Well, I mean, my story is it's massively different to anyone else's. I was really fortunate. Charles basically saw my folio of work from Coventry University, where I was studying car design.
Which you submitted to Morgan.
I sent some drawings in. Basically, Charles said, I love your work. Why don't you come and work with us on placement for 6 months? So I turned up here 2004 in March and just basically started sketching out ideas for a coupe aero-based car.
How old were you at the time?
I was 20 at the time.
Was that, I mean, I imagine that was a big deal.
It was a big thing for me to be able to be brought into a place. The other fortunate thing was to actually work with Charles directly, because you know, it's a small family company here, and it's great being able to literally sketch ideas out, and then you sit with the boss who then goes, I like that one, why don't we do something more with that? So that's exactly what happened. Sketched some more ideas out. I went back to Coventry, produced a really small quarter-scale clay model.
How long was it between the first time you sketched what that car might look like to that car rolling under its own power?
It was basically, it must have been sort of June 2004 was the first sketch, and we completed the car March 2005.
So how long is the development cycle at a company, say Porsche? Someone internally designs, draws something, and a car rolls out.
I'm sure the latest 911, for example, that would have been probably a 5-year program from sketch to actually having a production car there.
And that's
not longer.
And that's for a car whose, I guess, predecessor has already set the tone for what's going to come out.
Yeah.
So a completely fresh design is probably a much longer cycle.
It's probably a longer period as well, yeah.
So, you know, in most people's minds prior to 5 years ago, there was a Morgan design language which looks like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And the wings, the slanted tail,
Yeah.
the headlights, high power, low weight. It's very obvious that from the Aero 8 forward, you have this.
Yeah.
So what are the elements of Morgan design which are permanent elements? I mean, with Porsche, the 911 shell will never change. What about Morgan will stay?
You've got some classics. In fact, this car's perfect to demonstrate it as well, because it's not just about the materials you use. I mean, they're a big factor. We're talking real materials: wood, leather, aluminium. Also, the way that they're put together. And what we pride ourselves on is if we use a piece of wood inside the car, we don't just stick a piece of veneer on top of aluminium and call it a piece of wood. If it's there as that material, we need to use it, design in the fact that that's how wood will work. You know, wood is going to be only be able to be formed in this fashion. So that's how we design it. So we're keeping it functional to the materials. Then proportions, big thing with Morgan. You've got to keep short overhang front, long bonnet, rake screen, longer overhang to the rear, and it's got to be small and feel lightweight. It's got to have that kind of traditional British sports car feel to it, actually. Now you can take some of the elements away from different areas. Example, three-wheeler. I mean, that is pared down to nothing. But because it's got those DNA elements, it could be anything but a Morgan.
What is a three-wheeler? It is a bathtub, upside down, with a 16-inch tire in the back and 2 motorcycle tires in the front, a 2-liter S&S motor, 115 horsepower, 100 foot-pounds of torque, and it weighs 1,000 pounds.
This is the new Morgan three-wheeler. The original Morgan three-wheeler was the first car HFS Morgan, the founder of Morgan, ever sold. The three-wheeler was stopped manufactured in the 50s. Today, Morgan is offering this car. Why? Because he wanted to make it possible for someone to own a Morgan without spending $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. The three-wheeler is going to be priced at almost half that.
How did it come to pass the three-wheeler came back? Because I've seen it in films, I've said super cool, want one, but couldn't buy one. Whose idea was it?
The idea was the directors, the three of them together. They loved the idea of bringing the product back. One of the reasons we did it actually is because if you think about the lifestyle, sort of the last 5 years, for example, of Morgan, how we've gone from what people, the perception of Morgan, of just that classic car. You know, Charles brought the Aero in, we introduced the Aero Max, we've introduced a whole new product range, which has helped to take the company up into a new level. If we'd launched a three-wheeler 10 years ago first, I don't think it would have hit, it wouldn't have worked as well. And actually when we were doing the whole process, design process three-wheeler, the idea was to capture a new, excited young market as well as our existing owners.
Charles Morgan is a really fascinating man. I can't lie, I really like him, and I really respect him for taking a company whose brand was considered so traditional, if anything, so old, and making it so fresh. I mean, at least half the cars here are three-wheelers. The most inexpensive model they've offered in a long time, 25,000 pounds, you know, $40-ish thousand. But more interestingly is that unlike, you know, Ferrari, you know, teaming up with Prada, Morgan has decided to think outside the box and create a new box for what makes Morgan Morgan. The co-branding of the three-wheeler is with Superdry, a very cool Japanese brand. The Superdry three-wheeler is really cool. The three-wheelers are customizable, but no matter how you customize them, it's not like buying a Mini and then finding another guy with a Mini who has the same customized Mini. The three-wheeler would be unique if it was painted matte black with a black interior. It's unique no matter what you do to it because no one else has ever built anything like this or is building anything like this today. This is not a trike. This is a Morgan, which happens to have 3 wheels.
Live and Let Drive is still at its heart a car show, which is why I'm going to wear this, my homemade Morgan driving suit, and take this Morgan three-wheeler on a hill climb, just like HFS Morgan did back in 1909 in the original Morgan three-wheeler. Hopefully, it won't rain. Oh God. This is what it's all about. Understanding history. Also understanding that I brought 2 left-handed gloves. So we're gonna go sans gloves. That's French for no gloves. You don't mind if I just scoot past? Thanks so much. I'm almost in tears standing in the Morgan workshop. Is in a world where car manufacturers strive for ubiquity, Morgan strives for permanence. This is not about building the most, or this is not about building the most. This is about building history. You know, you don't buy into the Morgan lifestyle. The Morgan becomes part of your life. People don't sell their Morgans. People don't lease their Morgans. They live with their Morgans. I love it here.